This is me during my third pregnancy. What I liked the most about this pregnancy was that when people congratulated me, I used to say, "Thank you, but it's not mine. I'll pass the message to his parents." The puzzled look on their faces was a small pleasure of mine. 5 years ago, I gave birth as a surrogate and gave the baby back to his parents who waited for him for so long. While enjoying compliments, I also realized people kept asking me questions about the things I'm supposed to be concerned about. For example, they asked, "How will I give up the baby?" While I was waiting with anticipation for that exact moment when this huge responsibility will pass to his parents. Or, do my children think I'm going to give them away? Well, no. They knew the baby's the only one who belongs to another family. And of course, my favorite, how much do I get paid? Usually, this question is combined with a staring look, trying to calculate what amount is suitable for this enormous task. This gap between my experience and what people around me were interested in made me go looking for other surrogates. Happily, I found them. I got engaged into different groups, online and offline, and quickly I realized that other surrogates' concerns were much like mine. By then, it was clear that the discourse between the surrogates is different than what is expected from them from the outside. This gap between basic assumptions and lived realities intrigued me. It made me go into deeper research. It's not about my personal feeling. I understood that assumptions can affect the practice itself. Let's take the following assumption. For example, IVF patients must take hormones to get pregnant. Can explain why surrogates are also required to take hormones to get pregnant. This is a lived reality. Hormonal medications with numerous of short and long-term side effects and risks are being given to surrogates even though they have successful history in getting pregnant in the natural way. Is this considered as ethical in any way? If we really want to understand surrogacy, we have to try to think differently. I read previous studies on surrogates, and I found out they have examined many factors regarding the surrogates: their motivation, the separation from the newborn, their mental health, their children's mental health, and more. But something was missing: the surrogates' voices and their interpretation of their surrogacy process. I decided to ask, what are the meanings retired Israeli surrogates give to their surrogacy process from the perspective of time? I conducted 47 narrative interviews and I asked one single question: tell me your surrogacy story from the beginning. And I listened. I analyzed the interviews and extracted significant themes out of them. I will present some of my insights today. The first theme, medical interventions, was a dominant thing surrogates talked about. Let's see what Einat had to say about it. The first attempt was with lots and lots of hormones, numerous abdominal and vaginal injections, pills, everything. I said to myself, fine, this is their first and only embryo, so I won't make a fuss, so that they won't say later that it's my fault because I didn't want hormones. Later on in the process, Einat actually got pregnant without taking any hormones. Sarah, who's a doctor, said, I explained very clearly what I bring to the table. I demanded to be part of the medical protocol. I constantly felt the need to be on guard, to monitor. At some point, the head nurses were angry. They didn't like the assertiveness or my knowledge. They weren't comfortable at all. This demand to monitor the medical system coming from a doctor raises many questions. These quotes shed light on a built-in complexity in surrogacy, because the medical solution is another human being with preferences, concerns, history, and agenda. The medical encounter in surrogacy includes intended parents who trust the medical system to help them bring a child into the world, a doctor who trusts medicine and used to performing medical interventions, and a woman who came into this because she trusts her body. This complexity must be taken into consideration. The next theme regards the definition of this social role. The most common definition of a surrogate is a woman who carries and delivers a baby for others. But what happens to the ones that don't carry and deliver? Are they considered as surrogates? 15 out of the 47 surrogates interviewed in this research completed their surrogacy process without a live birth. Diana shared her insight. It's like a student who didn't finish their degree. Did she learn? What was actually here? I have this constant nagging feeling in my stomach, a secret that nobody knows. It's not the kind of thing you bring up in conversations like, oh, by the way, I was a surrogate, and it ended with an abortion. Maya, who experienced stillbirth on the 35th week of pregnancy, said, sharing this sometimes leads to a feeling of discomfort or unease. I tend to start by saying that I was a surrogate, and then there is a place for me to exist. Otherwise, the focus is on the pain and grief from the baby's death. But that's not what I did. I did something else. Since the law was approved in Israel in 1996, approximately 50% of the agreement signed didn't reach a live baby. But we still don't have a social script for this scenario. Maya and Diana devoted 1 to 3 years of their lives to surrogacy. Does the tragic result eliminate everything they did and felt? These surrogates try to figure out if they own this identity. They turn to different strategies to cope with this inner conflict. Some find a way to integrate this unique loss experience in their life story. Some keep it as a secret and put this chapter behind. Some turn to a second surrogacy process, looking for corrective experience. Learning from this, I suggest a new definition for the social role. Surrogates are women who agree to try to carry and deliver a baby for others. The last thing for today is about family. And when speaking of family in the surrogacy process, the surrogate's family matters a lot. Let's see what Ross said. My partner wasn't supportive, but it didn't stop me from progressing in the process. He told me, fine, go for the test and do what you need to do. I'm not in favor of it. Let's see what your parents say. Well, you probably want to know what her parents said, right? So, Roz's father is actually a kidney donor. And when she first told him she wants to be a surrogate, he said, why do you have to be such an extremist? Can't you just donate a kidney? Moving on to Becky. I had such hope that every step I take, he would see how important it is to me and be supportive. But not at all. It was a very tough time for both of us. I insisted and he doesn't intervene, just makes faces. And every time I bring it up, he becomes extremely tense. And last we had Teila. My family was terribly distressed about my self-destruction. Those were really tough times with a lot of tears. You want to embark on this beautiful journey, and suddenly you get a door slammed in your face by those you expected support from. Becky, Teila, and Raz are perceived as extreme and self-destructive by their families who they thought will support them. But they didn't stop. They continued with the process, even though surrogates are preserving our traditional role as baby makers. They also reclaim that role by using their reproductive abilities for a different purpose. They can actually make babies for others. These surrogates demonstrate how women can take a stand using their body, their choice. In conclusion, surrogacy has been practiced around the world for 40 years now. As long as there are people for whom this is the only way to bring a child into the world. Surrogacy is here to stay. This whole practice relies on the goodwill of women who agree to try to carry and deliver a baby for others. Without the goodwill, this whole practice will vanish. Considering the surrogate's perspective is essential for protecting women's rights and achieving reproductive justice in this complex field of reproduction. And like in many other stories we know, it has to be done under the principle of nothing about us without us. Thank you.